What would you do if you discovered that your perfect world wasn't so perfect after all? This is the problem that's faced by 12-year-old Jonas in Lois Lowry's book, The Giver. Jonas lives in a community with no disease, no poverty, no hunger, and no crime. Each person is assigned a job on their 12th birthday. To his surprise, Jonas is assigned the job of receiver of memories. He's supposed to keep all of the memories from before the community and everyone in it became the same. The memories that he receives from the previous giver makes Jonas wonder what his community would be like if everything wasn't the same. When Jonas's father, who has the job of nurturer of the young, has to release a baby from the community, Jonas finds out what it really means to be released from the community. He must figure out what to do with this newfound knowledge. This book has been challenged for many reasons. Bandbooksworld.edu listed some reasons of mind control, selective breeding, euthanasia, infanticide, and sexual awakening. I'd like to read a few passages from the book that showcase these reasons. First one. That's my father. Jonas found himself whispering, as if he might wake the little ones if he spoke aloud. And the other nurturer is his assistant. She's still in training, but she'll be finished soon. The two nurturers unwrapped the blankets and laid the two identical newborns on the bed. They were naked. Jonas could see that they were males. He watched, fascinated, as his father gently lifted one, then the other to the scale and weighed them. He heard his father laugh. Good, his father said to the woman. I thought for a moment that they might both be exactly the same. Then we'd have a problem. But this one, he handed one after rewrapping it to his assistant, is 6 pounds even. So you can clean him up and dress him and take him over to the center. The woman took the new child and left through the door she had entered. Jonas watched as his father bent over the squirming new child on the bed. And you little guy, you're only 5 pounds 10 ounces, a shrimp. That's the special voice he uses with Gabriel, Jonas said. Watch, the giver said. Now he cleans him up and makes him comfy, Jonas told him. He told me. Be quiet, Jonas, the giver said. Watch. Obediently, Jonas concentrated on the screen, waiting for what would happen next. He was especially curious about the ceremony part. His father turned and opened the cupboard. He took out a syringe and a small bottle. Very carefully, he inserted the needle into the bottle and began to fill the syringe with the clear liquid. Jonas winced sympathetically. He had forgotten that new children had to get shot. He hated shots himself, though he knew they were necessary. To his surprise, his father began very carefully to direct the needle into the top of the new child's forehead, puncturing the place where the fragile skin pulsed. The newborn squirmed and wailed faintly. Why is he— Shh, the giver said sharply. His father was talking, and Jonas realized that he was hearing the answer to the question he had started to ask. Still in this special voice, his father was saying, I know it hurts, little guy, but I have to use a vein, and the veins in your arms are still too tiny. He pushed the plunger very slowly, injecting the liquid into the scalp vein until the syringe was empty. All done. That wasn't so bad, was it? Jonas heard his father say. He turned aside and dropped the syringe into the waste receptacle. Now he cleans him up and makes him comfy, Jonas said to himself, aware that the giver didn't want to talk during the little ceremony. As he continued to watch, the new child, no longer crying, moved his arms and legs in a jerking motion, and then he went limp. His head fell to the side, his eyes half open. Then he was still. With an odd, shocked feeling, Jonas recognized the gestures and posture and expression. They were familiar. He had seen them before, but he couldn't remember where. Jonas stared at the screen, waiting for something to happen, but nothing did. The little twin lay motionless. His father was putting things away, folding the blanket, closing the cupboard. The memory came back. He killed it. My father killed it, Jonas said to himself. Stunned at what he was realizing, he continued to stare at the screen numbly. This is one of the passages that talks about infanticide and euthanasia, and a baby is killed in this scene. This is also an example of the mind control issue that was talked about earlier. His father seemed to be convinced that what he was doing was good because it was preventing a weak baby from going into the community. And I was surprised and shocked by this scene. I can understand why parents wouldn't want their children to read this part of the book. It was very... I didn't like it. Another reason that the book's been challenged is because of sexual awakening. And this part of the book is pretty short. I did dream last night, Jonas told them. He shifted in his chair, frowning. Good, Father said. Tell us. The details aren't clear, really, Jonas explained, trying to recreate the odd dream in his mind. I think I was in the bathing room at the House of the Old. That's where you were yesterday, Father pointed out. Jonas nodded, but it wasn't really the same. There was a tub in the dream, but only one, and the real bathing room has rows and rows of them. But the room in the dream was warm and damp, and I had taken off my tunic, but I hadn't put on the smock, so my chest was bare. I was perspiring because it was so warm, and Fiona was there, the way she was yesterday. Asher, too? Mother asked. Jonas shook his head. No, it was only me and Fiona, alone in the room, standing beside the tub. She was laughing, but I wasn't. I was almost a little angry at her in the dream, because she wasn't taking me seriously. Seriously about what? Lily asked. Jonas looked at his plate. For some reason that he didn't understand, he felt slightly embarrassed. I think that I was trying to convince her that she should get into the tub of water. He paused. He knew he had to tell it that it was not only all right, but necessary to tell all of the dream. So he forced himself to relate the part that made him uneasy. I wanted her to take off her clothes and get into the tub, he explained quickly. I wanted to bathe her. I had a sponge in my hand, but she wouldn't. She kept laughing and saying no. He looked up at his parents. That's all, he said. Can you describe the strongest feeling in your dream, son? Jonas thought about it. The details were murky and vague, but the feelings were clear and flooded him now again as he thought. The wanting, he said. I knew that she wouldn't, and I think that I knew that she shouldn't. But I wanted it so terribly. I could feel the wanting all through me. I don't think that this part is as big of an issue as the euthanasia, because obviously sexual awakening is a natural occurrence, and in the book it kind of discusses it indirectly. It doesn't come out and say that he was aroused. And I didn't even pick up on it really the first time that I read the book. And I read on the website that was one of the reasons that it was banned, and so I had to go back and look in the book for that part. So, also in the book, people take pills so that they don't feel those feelings anymore for people who would not be their assigned mate. So this is one of the concerns that is expressed about selective breeding in the book, because you are matched to a certain person and you are supposed to be with that person. So I can understand why some parents are concerned about the given. There's obviously euthanasia and infanticide present, but that's a small part of it, and it's not really the main point of the story. The main point is that he is kind of rebelling and righting the wrongs that people that he thinks are happening, and that people should be able to hold their own memories instead of not being able to feel anything. And I understand that we want to protect our children, but we also want them to learn. And I think this book provides many conversation topics for parents, teachers, and children. Obviously, sexual awakening, murder, and suicide are important topics, and we can't pretend as if they don't exist by prohibiting our children from reading about these things. Reading, I think, helps to bring knowledge and create questions, and these things, while they're maybe not as extreme as they are in the book, they do happen in the real world, and I don't think that this book should be banned. Instead, I think we should talk about it. Examples: teachers can do a history lesson on euthanasia, infanticide, brainwashing, and cults, and help children understand why those things are so bad. And even if parents don't want their children reading this book, which I do understand, parents should at least tell their children why and have a conversation with them about it. Communication is really the key, and if parents and teachers communicate with children about banned books like The Giver or even like Tango Makes Three, everyone might learn a little something from the conversation.